Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's May 28th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And just a quick look at our daily chart as we usually do. You can see we closed down today. It really was just kind of a range day. We actually traded a good bit on the low end of the range, and actually broke lower at some point during the day, and then recovered most of it by the end of the day. So I would just call this kind of a mixed sideways day. They tried to sell it off and just couldn't. The support seemed to have held right across here, and it seems to continue to hold. So my guess will at least make a new high here. The high before we broke the trend channel was 59.93.50. So I would assume we're going to at least make have a successful retest of that high. Now we could continue higher, and we may end up meeting this next target here, and we may even test the original high and upper side of this trend channel up here from back along here. It's possible. Whether or not that happens, we will have to see. But anyway, there it is on the daily chart. So let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart, and we'll take a look and go through the trades. Okay, here's our 2,000 tick chart. You can see that it was mostly sideways. We broke lower a little bit here early on, but recovered, and then finally broke, and then recovered, and then broke even lower. But we recovered before the close, most of it, or a good bit of it. I wouldn't say most of it, but we recovered a good bit of it. Closing back inside the range. If you extend this over, you'll see we closed back inside the range before the end of the day. So there's how I saw it. We had a spike and channel down, followed by multiple tests of the support before we finally broke lower again and had some extended move below the range lows. But you can see we've recovered a good bit of it and got back in the range before the day was over. So there's not a lot of trades today. The volume, there's some big bars in here. The volatility at times was kind of crazy, but I mean overall, most of these bars are reasonable again. 8 ticks, 7 ticks. This one was a little big, I think. 14, 6. So you can see the volatility's really dropped quite a bit. 7. Here's a bigger bar, and it's only 19. There's some in there that are a little bigger. There were a couple of trades. I think we'll talk about those. I think 24 ticks. It got a little volatile here a little after 3 o'clock as well. So, but you can see the volatility's dropped quite a bit from what we were seeing. But we're just not, we just came out of the holiday weekend, and sometimes the next week those holidays kind of extend, school's getting out and things like that, and the summer will be a little slower generally, unless something crazy happens. The summers generally slow down a little bit, and then we'll pick back up into the fall when school starts back. And I believe that's because a lot of the people are on vacation, the traders are on vacation, the big investment banks that do a lot of investing, they're all taking their vacations, and that's their slow period of the year. So it's just to be expected. So, and usually starts around Memorial Day weekend, and it looks like that's probably going to be the case this year. Now that could change at any point. Something crazy could happen, but for now, this looks like what we're looking at, just a typical start of a summer market. So we'll see what happens from here. But let's zoom in here, and we'll go through the trades. Early on, we were kind of in this. Well, we traded up into this, so you would expect if it's going to be successful, usually it'll be the same way it traded in. It's not 100%, but that's just something to always keep in the back of your head. And we clearly had a breakout the top, and then a second entry long. And you might even argue this is a triple test. So I like that trade. This was probably a bigger bar, 19 ticks, but I still like the trade. There's still plenty of room to get out. We made a higher low here, but I don't think the signal bar was good enough. You got to be careful on a breakout entering there. you'd probably want it to come back and at least test it one more time before it went higher. But notice we're working up here, and there's really two legs up here. We had this leg up, and it's just like a, I didn't draw the trend channel, but there's a little channel here, like so, and then you get a break, and then two legs up to a new high. But even if you start here, you get a close outside new high. And if you do start here, there's a second entry short as well. So it's either a break and two legs up, or it's two legs up any way you look at it, way away from the EMA. Maybe you go ahead and enter here. You're usually better off to wait on the lower high, which is here. I made that one red. And then even this one I like. The problem is it's a engulfing bar. Notice it completely engulfs the bar to the left of it. So you got to be careful with those. So I marked that one green, but you may still take that trade. Most breakouts are going to fail, and so we're probably going to come back and test this even if we're not going to go lower. But this thing just continues to trend lower here. And you might even treat this like a failure. I mean, that's a pretty good move down. I mean, that's not sideways. That is a leg down. So to me, this was your failure here as well. And that's why I didn't really mark this one. But you might argue, hey, that's a double top and that's two legs. So it's, you know, if you saw it that way, maybe. It turns out to be a good move, but it's not ideal. So just keep that in mind. I'll mark it green. So we made a new low here, and you got a first entry and then a second entry here. I think that signal bar is bearish enough. That's a you get a second entry short there, and then you get another second entry short right here. And this bar was a little bigger, but even at 14, that's small compared to what we were seeing at one time. But for today, that's a bigger bar, so just keep that in mind. But there's still plenty of room to get out. I wouldn't be afraid to take that trade at all. It's a nice second entry. And then you really got a triple test here, but I don't like that signal bar. If you'd had a good signal bar with enough room to get out, I'd tell you to go short right there. This is all too choppy. And then first entry. And you might argue there's a triple test here, but we're still in this uptrend. And so I'm a little wary of going short there. I think you have to wait on the lower high, and you don't get one here. It just works lower. Same thing here. It's just a first entry, and that's your signal bar as well, so can't go short there. There was a second entry short here, but again, the signal bar I don't think qualifies. And then by the time you got this third attempt to go higher that fails, I think you're too close to the lows. It's an engulfing bar, so you got to wait for it to close, and I think it's just too close to the lows. It would have ended up working, getting a scalp out of it, but it's not worth risking. That's just too sideways right there. And we actually break lower and fail, and then we rally up. And notice you got a new low right here, first entry, and then a second entry short right there with a nice signal bar. I like going short there. We didn't quite make a new high, but it makes a 2-bar matching high, and there's quite a bit of resistance across there. You can see where we've had resistance across here. So I think you're safe to go short there with that resistance as well. We work lower again. We actually break lower here once again, but fail pretty quickly. No chance to go long or short there. Here, I don't think you want to go short yet. You need more tests than that. But it does end up being a fairly decent move down. This is like a third or fourth entry, so I think you need a higher low here, which comes here, and the signal bar is not good. But then you got your break and a new high, and we've tested that now 3 or 4 times. And so I think you're okay to go short there on that second entry. Notice the new low here, first entry, second entry. Plus you get a closed new high, plus you've tested that multiple times. I would have liked it better if it closed outside the support resistance line, but that line's kind of murky in there. I mean, you could argue for it to be in a couple of different spots, and you probably wouldn't be wrong. So maybe it does need to be a little higher. I see reasons to say it could be a little lower or higher. So it's a little murky. It's not real clear. So I think you're okay taking that trade with it being a second entry, especially away above the EMA like that, a little ways away. Um, and we come down and we make another new low and then rally out of there. We finally get some rejection out of there, and this thing just kind of takes off. And we actually pull back and test it here, but not a good enough setup. This one I didn't mark it. It's 2 legs back. If it hadn't been an engulfing bar and it was, I mean, this one's 12 ticks. It's not too big really, but it's definitely 2 legs back to the EMA, and it means we came back and tested this area, this little double top across here. Let's just draw our line across there for now so it's easier to see. And you can see we came back and tested those highs twice and got a really nice rejection bar here. So maybe you go short there. I'm sorry, long there. I didn't mark it in real time, but you can argue for that to be green at least. There's a high or low here, but again, it's another stinking engulfing bar, and you got to go long on a break out of here that's probably going to fail. And you see it would have worked, but at the same time, it does fail and come back. So that's what you got to be careful of, and that's why that's not really a great entry, because it's probably going to fail and come back, and you don't know if it's going to go far enough before it fails to give you a good setup. Now you do get a second entry short there, but we're still in that little uptrend right there. So I think you need at least a lower high, and you don't get it. And then next thing you know, you're going higher again. And I don't see any longs or shorts here. We're working down, close outside, and that takes you into the news. I didn't mention this beforehand, but there was these meeting minutes. You never know about those, but so they're not like the regular FOMC announcement, rate announcement. But I would be at least flat 10 or 15, 30 minutes into this. I think I marked 30 minutes today, just in case, because there could be something that sneaks out in those minutes that would cause the market to go haywire, and there's basically no effect at all today. So there was another bounce here. I wasn't crazy about this signal bar, but you might argue there's a triple test there. But the signal bar is not great. It is a second entry, so it's another one you might argue to be green. Well, it doesn't matter because it's during the news, so that's why I didn't end up marking it, I guess. So just forget that. Don't enter during this. Give it 10 or 15 minutes, and you can see I don't even know how much I gave this one. 1307. I would give it at least 10 minutes, but you can see there's not much effect there by that. What you do, you get a close outside and move to a new high. Turns down. You get a break here, move, and a big move to a new low, but it's just too sideways. There's no setup there you can enter. And the next thing you know, the bottom just kind of falls out of it there, and we rally back pretty quickly. I don't think if this would have broke higher above this bar on the next bar, I'd say maybe you go long right there. But it doesn't. It gives you a sideways bar. It looks a little congested now. It ends up not mattering, but you just don't want to take that chance. That's just a first entry. And you do get a close outside the new high, and then you make a lower high here. Again, it's another engulfing bar. We seem to be just getting those everywhere lately. But so you got to wait for this to close. But I think you're fine that being that far away from the EMA on a lower high. Just go short there. Turns out there's a shorter term trend channel in here where you get the break and you're trying to make a new low, but what's happening here is you got the support of the range again, and they're having to work through that all over again. So it tells you there's some important support and resistance right there, and you really never get another chance to enter that before it goes into 230. So there's no longs or shorts there, and this is just another little tight kind of range there. So it does break out, but no chance to go long because you got the bigger downtrend channel that's obviously the more dominant pattern. There's a perfect second entry here, but that's way too late. Notice the new low, first entry. second entry, nice signal bar. Again, it's another engulfing bar. I just don't know what the deal is. Seems like we get those constantly lately, and you got to be careful with them. I mean, if you get a good setup that on an engulfing bar after it closes, just treat it like any other bar. But while it's engulfing, be careful with it. Wait till it closes. And it's one of those that you're in before it closes because it broke in a way that another setup was there. There's not much you can do about that. But if you know it's an engulfing bar, wait till it closes. That's my advice. Most of you it'll save you a lot of losses and save you a lot of headaches. So not a lot of trades today, just still kind of a quiet market right now. No real sense of direction. It's tried to go down today, but it just really couldn't. It kept coming back every time. So it is what it is. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Trying to think if there's anything else here. No, that's pretty much going to do it just from the news item here. But again, this is a FOM meeting. Just kind of keep up with the type of FOMC. If it's a speaker or a minutes release, the minutes release, I would at least go flat. The speakers, I don't even worry about them anymore. They don't hardly ever do anything. And there's no way to know when the speaker is going to say something during his talk. So it's hard to play those. It's not like it's going to be something he says right at the news item. It's just telling you there's going to be a FOMC speaker that's going to be speaking starting around this time during this hour. And so I don't worry too much about those. The meeting minutes, be flat 10 or 15 minutes prior and then wait for it to settle down if it does go crazy. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. But those FOMC rate announcements, I don't care what they're saying ahead of time, be flat for those an hour ahead of time, because those are the ones that will get you and they'll burn you badly. So be flat and do it an hour prior, because sometimes you can't get out if you're in that last hour. The prices will not move. I've seen it where they just barely move for a solid hour, and it's only because everybody's sitting on the sidelines waiting for the news to break. They're just not, people are scared to go long or short or do anything. They're just going to wait for the news to be over and then they'll look at the market. So keep that in mind. But otherwise, this is just a mixed trading day with a downward bias. The bias was down most of the day, but it was just mixed trading. So, I mean, every time we broke lower, we rallied back fairly quickly. So, don't count this rally out just yet. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.